So guys, data centers have a lot of particular considerations. They need electrostatic discharge. They have a ton of hardware in there. They have particular electricity needs. They have particular staffing needs. They are difficult to build. They're being built all over our great country right now. And some of them want polished concrete. And polished concrete is actually a really good solution for them. But the problem that they'll likely run into is maintenance. But I'm going to cover maintenance in another video. I think what they're really going to run into is the areas by the walls, and any columns that are in there are going to be difficult for the polisher to really, get matched up. The columns are always a challenge. The wall areas are always a challenge. Polishers are big these days. Like the actual floor grinding and polishing machines, they're big. So you can knock out some good square foot every day. That's not really the problem. The problem are the problem areas. And those are, again, by the walls, by the columns, and by the hard to reach spots where you basically have to hand grind. It's that hand grinding stuff that just takes forever. And you see this in grocery stores too. Anything big box like a data center or like Home Depot or a grocery store or Walmart, Costco, what have you. Those are really always going to be your problem areas, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it unless you really plan ahead in your construction sequence. Get people like us involved early on your design and your specification. We have been through this so many times, guys, at data center flooring people and data center owners, and again, major big box retailers, about how construction sequence really should go for these big jobs, at least for the floors. But it's not just the floors, it's when you put the walls up, right? It's when are the columns going in, and special consideration really needs to happen from an architectural perspective, and the architects need to know about this, because sequence matters when it comes to these sorts of projects. And the sequence matters because those hard to reach areas can be a lot less hard to reach if we plan accordingly. And again, I'm talking about the areas right by the walls, the corners, and the columns. And if we take these into consideration, it works better for everybody. And it works better for the GC, it works better for the polisher, it works better for the concrete guy, and it works better for the architect, and it works better for the floor owner when it comes to getting the result that they're really looking to get. Also in data centers, guys, they typically want the floor to look a particular way and align with the branding. Even though no customers, or very few customers, will probably ever walk that data center floor because they're very secure, and they're very secure for a good reason. But if they want the right color, that too can be a challenge. What data center floor owners ought to know before you get into it, or at least in the design phase, is color can be hard. And in polished concrete, usually you're using a penetrating dye. And what very few people will tell you is penetrating dyes in the concrete context of polished are translucent. They don't offer great hide. And by great hide, I mean integral color like a paint. So that's what I mean by hide. Dyes are the opposite of that. Dyes are translucent. They're not a coating, if you will. A coating being like an epoxy coating or a polyaspartic coating. Dyes will show everything. In fact, they will even accentuate problems. So they'll accentuate cracks, they'll accentuate different sized aggregates in your slab, they'll accentuate other problems in the concrete slab itself. They won't hide it, they'll make it more visible to the eye. That's one problem. Second problem is, with dyes, or potential problem at least, is the color is subjective. Your red is different from my red, is different from your blue, is different from my blue, is different from your green, is different from my green. And color is all about subjectivity and perception. And we at Polished Concrete Consultants, for that reason, always stress a big mock-up. Mock-up, mock-up, mock-up. I cannot stress enough the sample. Make it a big one, not a small one, not a little 5x5 area. You need an area big enough in your mock-up to really get the floor owner to understand what the finished product is going to look like before you carry out the job. We recommend at least a 250 square foot sample. That might seem big to you, it might seem outrageous to you. Trust us, go big with your mock-up, because that way the floor owner and the architect will get to see, not exactly, but a really good idea of what this is going to look like before you carry out the project. Wouldn't you rather that they know beforehand what it's going to look like and what your work will look like before you carry the whole thing out, and then they don't like it, and then the whole thing turns out to be a disaster? A relatively simple mock-up will help prevent that from happening. And that's why we stress that so much. In fact, not only have a document that the architect and the GC and the floor owner can all sign off on, date and time stamp it, but even have them sign the floor and take a photo of them signing the floor. I think that works great. They're just going to clean it up anyway, so it's fine. Have them sign the floor, have them sign an official document, and then you're good to go. Carry out. But that will prevent so many problems down the road of your mock-up. Just a simple mock-up, guys. You know, to me, the mock-up is so everything in polished concrete that if there's only one takeaway from this video, this educational video, for educational purposes, mock-up, mock-up, mock-up. And did I mention mock-up? Please do a big mock-up. And again, that transcends data centers. That's for big box retailers. That's for grocery stores. That's even for a small retailer at a mall. I mean, there you're looking at 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 square feet. We see a lot of that with those, retail brands in grocery stores that, want to do polished, but typically their expectations are way to the right, and what they actually get is way to the left on the other side of the spectrum. And then people like us, as experts, industry experts, come in to help resolve disputes, be there for people that really need to know and be educated on what it is that they're buying, what it isn't that they're buying, and what the expectations ought to be, not versus what you think they should be. And it's hard. It's really hard to negotiate that and to really essentially be the peacemaker between all the various parties. But that's what we do. So that's why we're here. We're not here to solve problems, but to be the experts in the field. We typically work for the floor owner, but we think like a contractor because so many of us have that contracting background, manufacturers of construction chemicals background, architectural color background, literally people putting down these products. We have that background, so we understand what it is the contractor goes through, and what the GC is there for, and what the architect is there for, etc. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on problems in polished concrete and data center floors. Data centers are awesome. I come from a software background too, and I've been in a lot of data centers, and I think they're really cool. I think they're amazing, and I can't believe how many of them we're building right now. It's incredible, the amount of data centers that are going up here in America. So anyway, my name is Jeff Bonkiewicz. Please feel free to write me at jeff@polishedconsultants.com. Again, that's jeff@polishedconsultants.com. And tell me about your problems. Tell me what's going on. And again, we're here to help solve these issues in polished concrete. So again, it's jeff@polishedconsultants.com, and I will see you in the next video.